Thank you very much for staying with us. It's still TVC Breakfast Saturday, and now let's talk about the International Women's Day. Every 8th of March is set aside to celebrate this, epoch program talking about International Women's Day. It's a day set aside to celebrate women's achievements, their success, and journey towards women empowerment and gender equality. In commemoration of the day here in Nigeria, President Tinubu noted that the theme of this year's International Women's Day, Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, fits well within his administration's policy initiatives on educating and empowering women, not only through inclusion in governance, but also by ensuring that they remain relevant in the scheme of affairs, as well as the fact that they remain unimpeachable voices in the development process across all sectors of the economy. Well, on the other hand, First Lady Oluremi Tinubu called on governors and law enforcement agencies to implement capital punishment for people involved in kidnapping in the country, and she also raised concerns over the spate of abductions in the country, describing the perpetrators as cowards, this for targeting women and children. All right, that's what we will be discussing and now on the program, but eventually we will narrow it down to what this means for women's participation in politics moving forward, looking at how things went down, so to speak, for women during the last general elections of 2023. We have joining us now in the studio former Director General of the FRCN, Funke Treasure. It's good. Former Assistant Director of FRCN, Funke Treasure. It's good to have you join us. Apologies for that sleep, and welcome to TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Right, but for you, what's the most remarkable thing about celebrating IWD every year in Nigeria? Some say it's just an event, but for you, as one of the active voices speaking for the women, women's emancipation and all of that, what for you is most intriguing?
Well, I'll tell you, yesterday I had 3 events to attend. I was moving from one to the other. It tells you, and that's just me. For a lot of us, I think it's our Christmas, as it were. It's a big event for us, for women across the world, because it's that day that we get to celebrate what we do in our spaces, and we get to speak with one voice around a particular theme to power everywhere in the world. So that it is important. It is significant for us. It is not just a day. We're not wasting our time. We are making progress.
This year's focus is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. What is the drive for you with this theme?
For me, investing in women, I mean, when you talk about investment, it's not just financial. You can be emotionally invested in something. You can be psychologically, physically. I mean, it's in all ramifications. And when you invest, you expect progress. So we're expecting progress for women politically, financially, because these are 2 areas, and health-wise, these are 3 areas where women struggle. If women are financially literate, maybe someday we'll get the financial muscle to be able to aspire politically to critical offices. If women are, if they have good health, we're talking about cervical cancer here, we're talking all kinds of things that women have to deal with, yet they have to show up in the workplace. And these things they deal with are because of their biological makeup. So it's not that we're weaker, we're not the weaker vessel. We are peculiar, we're unique, right? So investment is in different layers and different forms.
And so you said earlier on that we're making progress.
We are.
But last year, the general elections, despite the fact that we had a number of women, a good number of women who vied for offices, but then the reality now, doesn't exactly seem to be encouraging. But how do you look at it? How much hope do you, have in this regard that we are making progress politically. I know you've spoken about it's not just political, there's the issue of health, there's economic empowerment. You know, these two need to be carried along while hoping that women have a better place of relevance, so to speak, in politics. But in terms of our successes, really, you know, politically, what are your thoughts?
Well, it is what it is. We're trying. I mean, there was a time we had so many women sizable number of women in the legislature. Somehow we started retrogressing in terms of representation in the assemblies, particularly National Assembly. But this is what I think. I think the system that throws up candidates or people who contest is too financially burdensome to women. The presidential system of government means that there is no two way about it. You need the financial muscle to be a politician, first of all. But let me start from the fact that a lot of women are probably not politically literate. We seem to think that being a politician is betraying the people. Like there is this binary of them and us, these people and we the people. And crossing over from here to there is almost like, oh, we're going to betray the people to join those people. So we need to discard these us and them thinking. And we have to see that being a politician is not a bad thing. It is something that you should aspire to. Having said that, we also have to be electable. Being electable is preparing to be there ahead of time. It is not the election year or 2 years to the election year that you start preparing. It is capital intensive. If you're going to cover, for instance, if you're looking at being the president of this nation, for instance, you're talking of 776 local government thereabout. You have to cover. And each of those local government, I don't think will take you anything less than 5 million to make it basic. So you can imagine when you multiply that, it is capital intensive. A woman who wants to step into that terrain has to have her acts together financially. Secondly, media strategy. We seem to take it for granted. Those of us who are in politics, we think we just move with the crowd. No, the men don't do that. They have their strategy intact. They are strategic. And the things you say in the build-up, you have to connect with the people. That's the third one. It is community-based. You have to be seen to have a bond with the people before the election year. So it's something that you sort of, it's progressive. So, and then finally, the party you identify with. It seems that for these big, I would say, these critical posts like governorship and the presidency, our women join the fringe parties. Because if you do not join the party where the action is and you don't get the buy-in of the gladiators there, and you're not thrown up as one of the candidates, you cannot get the prominence that you need and the people muscle that you need to get there. What we see is that our women join the fringe parties. It just seems to be like, okay, I'm going to be a presidential candidate in party F or H, and that's all I need to just be seen as a presidential candidates. I move from aspirant to candidates in this fringe party. But it doesn't work like that. It has to be the prominence, the prominent parties that we join. Having said that also, we also need to look at, I've talked about media strategy, right? So these four are already enough for us to change the tactics and begin to do things differently.
I like the fact that you said that the men are strategic in nature.
Yes, you are.
And when you were speaking earlier, you decided to remove your glasses to tell Nigerians that it's a serious business. It's very interesting.
It is.
But quickly, let's look at the statistics. At this National Assembly at the moment, we have 4 out of 109 women. 16,
Senators.
yeah, senators. 16 in the House of Representatives. Where lies the 35% affirmative action of these women?
Okay, so you're asking the wrong person because I'm not, I'm not in the place to do that. However, let's look at the political terrain and what it is for women. It is dangerous for women. I mean, here in this country, we've seen where a woman was burned to death, and she wasn't even aspiring for the big posts. I think it was a local government election, I think in Kogi State. She was burnt to death. And I think there was a recent one also in the last election, something close to that. So women are afraid. Politics, to use the words of a former political leader, is a do or die in Nigeria. It ought not to be. I mean, if you see people like Kemi Badenoch, you want to be a politician. It shouldn't be like you have
to interpret that.
Yes, I will. If I don't get it, then that's it. It's the same thing as do or die. Do you understand? So we have to make it less dangerous for women. Even if you're not afraid, your family members are afraid. In this era of kidnappings and assassinations and all of that, you don't really want your loved one to go into politics in Nigeria. You don't want her to be burnt to death. So the enabling environment has to be created for women to say, look, first of all, we seem to overthink things. A man would think 30% and go for it. A woman would think 50%, 100%, 150%, and she's still thinking, and she may end up not doing it because we seem to want everything to be proper before we take this action. But you men are different. It is dismal to have this number of women in decision making. Look at how the country is now. We need more women.
So what would be your advice to the president concerning appointment for women?
I think the president has done incredibly well. I see women here, women there, customs, or was it immigration recently? He's trying, but we are asking for more. You have talked about 35% affirmative action. We're not there yet. If we do not have enough representation at the elective level, what about the appointive? Do you understand? So one should make up for the other. And we've had brilliant women in governance. We've had brilliant women in parliament. So why not? Let the men, in fact, men, it's about time you stepped down. You've done it for how many years of our national life, national history, 60-something years in critical places in governance. Step down. You haven't done.
You
haven't done fantastically.
Do you
so
see
please step
women
down. Let us do it because we model these at the domestic level. Give us anything, we turn it to gold. Okay? So allow us. Let's do it differently. Isn't it Zig Ziglar who said it's madness to do something repeatedly the same way and expect different results? Step back.
Is that what you're saying, that women are better managers?
We are better managers. Give us the discourse. We'll turn it around for you.
But I want to take you back on an earlier point you made about, this fact that the affirmative action is still an illusion. We tried it, at the previous assembly to make it, compulsory for women to be given that, 35% slot in the National Assembly. It didn't, come through. There were so many voices against it, religious voices, some from the north and all of that. And now the leadership of the National Assembly, presently constituted, say they are bringing it back. And, that hopefully we get to see it being realized at this time. Are you optimistic that the problems that, brought about it not coming to fruition will be sorted out, this time around?
If we've done it before, we can do it again. I remember writing an article during the administration of former President Olusegun Obasanjo for the Guardian newspaper. I was a columnist with the Guardian newspaper then, and I did this, it was a center spread at that time, it was a special report. So, and I did something called the President's Women. At that time, and in the history of Nigeria, you see that the former President Olusegun Obasanjo has been the most gender-friendly president we've had. we can do it again. And he looked for the right women in the right places, and they all delivered. We can do it again. We're not asking for tokenism. Don't put a woman there for the sake of putting a woman there. Look for competent women. We're all over the place. And we're not necessarily in politics. Some of us are technocrats. Some of us, we're experts in what we do. Look for such women and put them where they ought to be and watch them deliver. We've done it before. We're not reinventing the wheels. We're just saying, look for these women, plug them where they ought to be, and let us see, it's for the collective good. This right now is not about man or woman, you, us. Look, put the right person there.
Right, but a dimension to my question would also be, would it work if we make it compulsory for, there to be female commissioners, female ministers, at least 30%, in the National Assembly, at least 35%?
It will work.
If it is made compulsory, as against now that, women are clamoring for more
We
participation.
signed the instrument. Nigeria is a signatory to all of these instruments that says prioritize women in governance, whether economic governance or whichever kind of governance. We are signatories to all of these international documents and instruments. So what's stopping us if it's not patriarchy? Why is it, what's the anathema there? Why don't you want to see a woman there, right? It's about competence, and there are competent women around. Let's do it.
I want you to be intentional now to speak to that woman watching you.
And we have it in the Rwandan parliament. We have it in the South African parliament. We have it all over Africa. They're not eating up the men. They're working and they're delivering for the collective good. So we have to intentionally address this patriarchy that we embody. A lot of us, even women. Women also are custodians of patriarchy. We're the ones who say that's how we've been doing it before. We will continue to do it.
And that's my next line of question. How can the women break that barrier to be able to take the bold step and achieve what they plan to achieve?
We continue to mentor. I remember I was part of the facilitators for women aspirants for offices before the last elections. I was in Kwara State to mentor some of the political aspirants at that time. So in critical skills, like public speaking, like understanding the constitution, like understanding the electoral system and how to plug in and all of that. We should do more mentorship for some of our women, especially those vying at the grassroots, at the community level. Some of them need to be able to speak. Some of them are really, really good, but they need to be able to stand and say what they want to do and be seen to be carrying everybody along. Mentorship is important. And we continue to lobby. And lobbying is a good thing. We'll continue to lobby the government at all levels, state level. Let's not forget, you talked about commissioners. Yes, we've been having women in ministerial positions, fair representations, but at the state level, because we seem to take our eyes away from some states. Some states don't even have maybe more than one or two commissioners. That ought not to be. We need more. We'll continue to advocate for more of them in governance.
So you pick on a keyword that I also wanted to build up upon. Apologies, Emmanuel. That's the issue of lobbying, and for some men, and that might just be the obstacle that many women. Yes, the issue of training is important, and I totally like the fact of you talking about media training, because that's an angle often ignored by politicians, or politician wannabes, so to speak. But the issue of lobbying now, and men that may still find women as adversaries, as in, who is this woman talking to? We've seen people like that even in the National Assembly, who openly challenge women and tell them to shut up. Who are you to speak to me like that? Don't you know your place? That is still lingering in our polity. What do you think is the way out?
We'll continue to work on them. I mean, it's not okay for a man to say shut up, but it's even worse when a woman tells other women to shut up when their husbands are talking. So you see, we're fighting on two fronts. We're working on our women, and we're also working on our men. It's a progressive thing. That's investing in women for progress. progress. We're hoping that we'll make more progress. Where we've lost momentum, we're hoping that we will gain momentum again. Being a politician is not a bad thing. It's okay for Funke Treasure to say, I want to be a politician. I am a politician. Doesn't mean I am against the people. So that mindset, we have to work on it so that more women will aspire to be politicians and to take up elective positions so that we stop having ashwebi and catering to the men.
What would be your advice to women who are feeling this economic reality at the moment, who are carrying the weight of challenges or the burden bedeviling?
Even in the families,
in the families right now, to those who are watching you. What's your word of encouragement to this
I thank
women?
you for acknowledging that women are bearing a lot of these financial burdens or economic burdens in the domestic spaces because a lot of our men are also out of jobs. So you find the women doing the menial ones and trying to keep the family together. All I can say is seasons go, seasons come. We will overcome this as well. So hang in there, keep hope alive. We're all in it together. One day this will be over. Let's remember that at some point we were using the Naira to buy Naira. And one day we surmounted that. So hopefully this also will pass.
So you're sounding like a prophetess.
Oh, well, maybe hope is hope. There's no other name to it. So we have to keep hope alive. When you lose hope, you've lost everything. So we must keep hope alive. And I want to commend all the women out there working in the civil society spaces, in their little spaces to make life better for other women with their meager resources. You don't have to be a money bag to be able to impact lives, influence lives, and inspire inclusion in all that.
But you women have a lot of these Women's Day. Many
we should. We're incubators of mankind. We carry mankind.
I wish you celebrate us too.
And you also have your days. There's a day for the boy child.
We hardly hear this kind of
fathers.
When
make the noise. I know there is International Men's Day. You
absolutely,
take it for
Father's Day, boy child day.
Paddle your own canoe.
Very interesting.
We will be there to support.
We're there for you.
We'll be there to support and cheer you on because yes, the men are also doing great work.
Yes,
Funke Treasure, making impact as always. Thank you very much for your contributions on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.